Hi everybody, happy Sunday. I'm here for a tutorial to show you all how to make this cute fold out pocket that you can insert into your journals, or it's also a great place for holding ephemera. I got the idea from Wendy at Wendy's Creations. I just added to what she had already created. Let me show you what it looks like. You open it up and it folds out. And then at the top you have a pad that comes out and it's stored in two little triangle tuck spots. In the center there's a tuck spot, a flap tuck spot. This simply has a little place to jot down something. On both sides it has a pocket. This side has a side loading pocket. This side has a top loading pocket. And then the bottom, there's another pocket. And inside the pocket, I made a little foldable envelope. I got this idea from Carol Tinson at Crafty Emporium. And this just folds down so you can jot things down on it, write things. Cute little envelope. It tucks right back, hopefully, back there. And I'm going to put that back in its spot. Then it folds back up. Well, have to make sure the tag is in all the way. And then this folds down, and the closure is like on one of those manila envelopes. Okay, let's get started. I'll share with you the materials. You will need one 12 by 12 piece of cardstock, double-sided preferably. You need a cutter, not absolutely necessary, but will make things a little easier, I think. You need glue, scissors, one of those little hole pokey things, or anything with a sharp point, a skewer, barbecue skewer or something. You need some string, any kind of string. It's for the closure and for your tag that you'll be putting in. You need some distress ink and 2 brads, some copy paper, journal paper, anything will do. You need a stapler, a scoreboard. That's optional, but it'll be easier if you have it. And then you need a couple of hole punches. I have a 1 inch and a 1/2 inch. The 1/2 inch isn't absolutely necessary, but will be helpful. And I think I got everything. So those are the materials. Let's start with the paper. So this is my paper. First we're going to score it. So take out your scoreboards if you have them, if you're working along with me. And the first thing you're going to do is, if you have directional paper, it's better not to. But if you do, it doesn't really matter. You can make it go up or down, but when we fold it, I would suggest making it go, up and down. You're going to score it at 4 inches. And you're going to score it at 8 inches. Then you're going to turn it. And on the left-hand side, you're going to score it at 3.5 inches. It's hard to see here. 3.5 inches. The right-hand side, you're going to score in at 2 3/4 inches. So that's 1, 2, 3/4 inches. You'll be at 9 1/4. Okay? You can set your scoreboard aside. You won't be needing it anymore. Okay, so let's fold the paper. First thing you're going to do is decide which side you want facing out like this. I'm going to use the rose side again. So that means I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to fold in like this. I'm going to fold on the 3.5 inch and the 3.5 inch. So what you've done obviously is you've scored it into thirds. Then you want to also fold in, and you can use your bone folder here if you'd like, and you're going to fold in top and bottom as well. But you can open everything back up. And the next thing we're going to do is the small side, the 2.5 inch side, should come down at the bottom towards you. This is my 2 3/4 side. This is my 3.5 inch side. And these are my 4 8 inch sides, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut from the bottom of the paper to the first score line. We're going to cut that box out. Actually, just cut it part way for now. So I make sure I'm not making a mistake here. And cut out the other one. Perfect. Turn it and do the exact same thing to the top. Cutting to that first score line from the top. Okay. Now, you can actually cut out the top one all the way. Set those cards aside because you'll need them. Set them aside. And actually you can cut out all four now that I got a little confused there for a second. You know, after I make the prototype, it's kind of, oh, how do I want to say how to do this? So I don't want to confuse you. Okay, so the 3.5 inch score line is at the top, and then we have 2 at the bottom. And what's going to happen is eventually this is going to fold in, this is going to fold down, and these are also going to fold in, but we want to make pockets out of these first. So the first thing we're going to do, and I'm going to show you this as we do it, show you on the one that I made, is we're going to fold up the bottom and make a pocket, okay? So the first thing I want to do is cut out a little notch. You can do that using your 1 inch hole punch. Okay. And on this side, what we're going to do, we're going to cut it in a minute, but where we're going to cut it now is we're going to cut down this score line to where this envelope no, we're not. I'm sorry. We're going to cut this way, where this meets the edge of the pocket that we just did. So we're going to go like this. on that side, and we're going to do the same thing on this side. So what we're doing is we're cutting to the edge of where the pocket is. And it gets kind of tricky because you have to hold that pocket in place so you can see the edge line. Unless, of course, you wanted to mark it, which would make obviously more sense, but I never do things easily. Now what you want to do is we're going to fold this up, and we're going to fold it up all the way just about to the top. I say just about because you want to leave a little bit of space in order for it to fold properly. I'm just cutting that off. And the same thing here. Okay, so what it looks like, you have 3 pockets, okay? Now this pocket, we want to make it so that it's top loading. This pocket, we want to make it so it's loading from the side. So the next thing we want to do is put a notch in this. Okay, and then we want to turn it and put the notch over here. And if you mess up on these and cut it wrong, no problem. The first time I made it, I did not make it so it was foldable. I actually cut out the pieces and then placed them in. Okay, the next thing we want to do is we want to ink everything up. Okay, so let's do that. And since this is going to be closed, going to be glued down in a moment, we don't have to worry about doing the back side of that. Same with this. Want to make sure we get underneath it though. And this side. Okay, and we want to get that. Now let's do the whole thing. Make sure you get the folds on both sides. Good. That was funny, I just said good, and I'm so used to when I was a teacher telling my students they were doing good, so I was telling myself I was doing good. Oh my, silly me. Okay, let's see. I think I got every place. So we're like this. The next thing we want to do is glue these in place. And here's my glue. I always use our glitter glue because actually I love the nozzle that they come with. Whoops. And you don't need much glue. And here, top loading as well. And then on this side, it's going to be side loading like that. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to cut off this little sliver, just a little sliver, so it closes a little more easily. And the same on this side. Even though I just glued it, of course. And this will fold over everything. So this needs to be trimmed down a bit. So I'm just going to take a sliver off of it. I'm going to make sure that that edge is done as well. Okay, so you always want to check it with these foldable things that they're folding how they should fold. There's no obstruction. And for some reason, it didn't go down. Okay, so let's make sure. That's a little too, still a little too long. Just the sliver. I still want the notch to be there. Actually, I think I'm going to go back in if I can with the notch, with the hole punch. Very gently, let me in. Oh well, can't get in there. Let me try again. There we go. Nope, something's obstructing it. There we go. Okay. A little larger than I wanted it, but let me glue it up again. Okay. Make sure it closes correctly and that folds over correctly. Okay. The next thing I want to do is put the two little triangle tucks. And because we had so many cards left over, that's going to be easy to do. So I'm just going to cut one. Might be a little too large. And then turn it over. Cut the other one. And see if I made them too large. I think that will work fine. So let's glue those in place. And this one. Okay. Now we need to make the little pad to go in that. So I've already cut the paper, and I've cut the paper to 2.5 inches. I'm sorry, 3.5 inches by 3 1/8. Let's see. No, that's when it's folded. 3.5 inches by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 1/4. So take your copy paper and just cut 2 pieces that are 3.5 inches by 6 1/4. After you do that, fold them in half because they have to be small enough to fit here, and you can always cut them down if they don't fit. Let me just slide this under there. Okay, it looks like I'm probably going to have to trim the bottom, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to trim off about 1/8 of an inch. But with this little pad, and I cut it crooked, of course. With this little pad, I don't want to put just plain paper in, so I'm going to staple these together. Just one staple at the top. Then I'm going to take a little strip of leftover paper and I'm going to cut it. I'm going to place it. I'm going to cut it straight. Straighter. Okay, that's the straightest that I can do. And we're going to cover that staple. Trim this off. Ink it up. And then I'm going to glue it on top. Well, I've cut it a little too short. Geesh. Well, maybe if I ink it up. Let me see. No, it has to be trimmed. That'll drive me crazy. And let me ink this again. Okay, and this is going to slip right under your tucks, your triangle tucks. Hopefully, it's going to slip right under. Goodness gracious. There we go. And after you put it in, you also want to make sure that this is able to fold down. Okay? Still don't like the way this is working, so I'm going to trim that a little bit more. That's much better. And ink it again, so that this can fold down and we'll be able to cover it up. Okay, the next thing you want to do is we're going to put a little flap right there, and I think I have enough here. I can make a triangular little flap. I think that might work, so as not to waste any more paper. So let's see. I don't want it to go all the way down to this end here. Normally I would just do a vertical pocket, but since I had this left, I don't think it'll hurt using that. So I'm going to ink it up before I glue it down. I think this paper is so pretty. I don't know where I got it. I probably got it at Tuesday morning. Okay, and I'm just going to glue it on one side, the right side. I want to make sure I'm not too close there. Actually, I kind of like the way that looks. And under that, we're going to put just a little, you can put whatever you want. It could be a little piece of scrapbook paper, it can be journal paper, anything that could fit in there. Okay, then we want a couple of cards for here. So let's make one tag. Remember, these are thin, so let's see how thin we need to make them. This is good, and this is about 2.5 inches, not quite. And you don't want it hanging out of this, although if you had lace on it or something, that wouldn't be bad, but I'm going to make it so it fits pretty evenly into the pocket. I'm going to make it into a tag by folding it but not creasing it and cutting off the ends to make a tag. And then I'm going to ink it up. Put a hole in it for the string. And then, because I want someone to be able to write on this, I'm just going to take a scrap piece of paper that I have. I'm going to take a piece of this, rip out a hunk, see if it'll fit. And that does. And I'm going to add some ink to this one. And the ink I use is Tim Holtz Vintage Photo. I like Vintage Photo. It's not quite as dark as the walnut stain. Sometimes I also use the moss green. It's pretty, depending on if you're in a floral theme, like a nature theme. Okay, so that looks kind of cool, and I'm going to glue this down. Good. There I go again, good. And then add some more ink to the back because I didn't do that. And I'm going to put a string in. I have one that's already cut. Typically I don't do it with a loop like this, but I'm going to. I usually knot it because it seems to stay in better. But I'll conform to the masses and do it this way for now. Against my better judgment. Cut that off. And put that over here. It's too big. Cut it off a little bit. Again. Oh, there goes my pretty paper. That's okay. No one will ever know, except you. Okay. It's okay if it sticks out a little bit. All that means is it's going to have to be folded last when we close it. Let me just make sure this is opened up as much as it could be. Doesn't feel like it is. There we go. Okay. Now we want to put a card in here. And I'm getting kind of tired of looking at that paper, so let me put this paper in. I'm going to round the corners after I straighten it out. around it on the 1/2-inch side. If you all don't have this Memory Keeper corner rounder, it's the best tool. I love it. I know there's so many tools that you can get, you know, and you wonder. I wait until they go to Tuesday morning and then get them. Okay, so we're going to pop this in. Of course, I didn't measure it. I should have. There we go. Now down here, we're going to make that cute little envelope that folds up. And all to do that, I'm going to take a piece of paper and I'm going to cut it. I'm going to use my cutter for this because, just because. And I'm going to cut a strip, depending on how big you want it to be. I'm going to cut it right there. That's all. And let me get all my junk out of the way. And all I'm doing here is I'm folding it and folding it up and folding it again. Then it has this nice little top. The first thing I want to do is I want to cover that with a piece of paper. And I have to use this. So it has to be the same width. So I ballpark it, and I can always trim it. Let's put this side on. Okay. And then we're going to cut it, trim it. And trim it here as well. Ink it up. I think I am running out of ink. And add some glue. Put it on. Okay. And I also want to ink this up as well, the envelope. I think I get more on my fingers than I do on the paper. Okie doke, and you want to do the inside. I'm down in Miami and it's been so nice, like this week. And then today it got hot again. We were lucky enough, at least it got down to the 60s and 70s. Today, not so much. I guess I'm complaining when some people are in freezing weather. I used to live in Boston. I loved the snow. I hated to drive in it, but loved the snow. Okay, so that's finished, except we need something to hold the flap in place. So I take my 1/2 inch little scummajujuju, little hole puncher, and if I can get the hole out, I'm going to ink this up. And we're going to glue the bottom half of it only. Actually, I would say the bottom third. And making sure I'm putting the bottom third kind of low. And voila, there you have it. Isn't that cute? Check out Carol Tinson's YouTube, Crafty Emporium. I love it. And we're gonna put this in this little pocket here. Okay, so the inside of this is completed, has been completed. I'm actually gonna put that this way. Now we have to look at the closure for this. So the way we do that is, pardon me for 2 seconds while I get 2 brads that I should have had out, that I don't. No, I just have to find them. Aha. You know what? I got one of these, I'm just gonna lose 2 of those. I was lucky enough, and really I consider myself fortunate. I got one of those dream boxes, and it's changed my life as far as crafting goes. Of course, I'm still paying on it, but still. Okay, so the way we're going to do that is we're going to take our pokey tool thingamadubber, and you're going to poke a hole. I'd take out the top tablet if you've done that. Take that out first. And you want it close to the bottom, but it doesn't have to be right in the bottom. And poke a hole in it. And then the bottom half here, you also want to take out the card that you may have there. I mean the envelope that we made. And you want to poke another hole. But you're just poking the other hole in the top envelope. Don't go all the way through. So you're gonna have to put your fingers in there, and don't poke your fingers. And it can be down a little further, okay? Before we put the brads in, we have to cut out circles with the 1-inch punch, and you're going to cut out 4 circles. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And okay. What you're going to do here, you're going to ink them up first. You only have to ink up 2 of them, which will be on the top. Okay, and you're going to stack 2 of them together and glue them. And I would just glue them around the edge, because you're going to poke a hole in the center. You don't want to make it any harder than it will be, than it needs to be. Okay, just like that. And you're going to do the same thing to the other. Just like that. And I'm going to poke a hole right in the center. Watch your fingers. Poke it all the way through so that brad can get through. Same with this one. And make sure your brad's apart a little bit. It'll make it easier when you're putting it in your foldy out thing. Okay, so we're going to put it in. And the trickiest thing is getting the brad separated without really being able to see it. Probably it would have been good to put this there before you glued everything, but I just thought it would be hard to measure it. I'm going to take it out again, open it up a little bit. It helps a little bit. You can still get it in from this end, but it'll be separated, and that does really make a difference. Okay, then you're going to put the one on this side. We're going to do the same thing. Open it up just a little bit. Oh, and I'm putting the beige side out. You know, just decide which side you want out. Okay. And I probably, see how it's overlapping a little? I probably should have, in fact, I'm going to correct that because you won't be able to see it. I'm going to put it up a little bit. And this will cover it. Yeah, that's much better. Now I'm going to take some string, and I have more string than I will need, and I'm just using, this is a nylon thread. You don't need a lot because this isn't going to hold a lot. I'm going to wrap it around the top circle, and then I'm going to make a little knot. And that's all I'm going to do. Then I'm going to wrap it around the bottom twice. And I'm actually going to, I didn't do this on mine, I'm going to knot that end, this end, just kind of right where I'm going to cut it off. Oh, can't even tell. Well, that's not necessary then. And just cut that off. And there you have it. So let's open it up and see what we did. Oh, because I have to put this back in. So we're going to pop it open, pop it open, pop it open. We're going to put this back in. It goes in much easier since it's dried, and oh, that does show, doesn't it? And we have a tag on this side. We have a little journaling card on, if I can get it with my fat fingers, on this side. You got to play with these and make sure they're open and not sticky. Then I have a little tuck spot here with a little card. I actually like the way that looks. And then we have our little special, whoops, I didn't put it in, our little special envelope on this side. And what I'm going to do, because this is bothering me up here, I'm going to cut a little circle. And I'm actually going to cover all of this up. The brad and that awful hole. Probably should have done it on the other side. It wouldn't show itself as much, but that makes me happier. You know how things just bug you sometimes? That was going to bug me, but I was going to need a little more glue. And because I left the cap off, let's have a hard time coming out. Okay, that makes me happier. That's what I love about working with paper. It's so forgiving. You know, you can add something, take something away so easily. Okay. Well, I think that about does it. Thanks for stopping in, and I will see you next time. If you feel like it, I would really appreciate you giving me a thumbs up. Let me know if you made this. Put some pictures in the comments. I'd love to see them, or if you have other ideas on how to change it. Tips on my videos, that would really help me as well. Thank you, and you all have a great evening. Bye.